All right, now we're recording. All right, so if we go to our calendars, so we can look at the Tenafly calendar. All right, now if you want to use your own colors and you don't want to use the system-wide colors, you can just go to Settings from your calendar. And you can then set up categories. You can set up any category that you want and assign a color to it. This way, when you use these categories, you can have your own colors appear on your own calendar. You can still use the standard system-wide categories, but if you use this, this will keep the color for you. And as long as when you're selecting your own individual category, you do that first before you use the system-wide category, you'll get the color you want. I hope I made that clear. I felt like that was a little confused. Please ask if you have any questions. Now you can add as many categories as you want. Just remember the first one is the one that will give the color to your event. If you don't use a category, LibCal will assign the color based on the audience you chose. So that's how you get all these various different colors. Joseph, do you have anything to add? While I'm taking
So the categories that you're seeing when you set up your categories here, that's what you're going to see when you look at your calendar. So if we go to the calendar view for the Tenafly library, you'll see all these different background colors on each event. So those are the colors that you're setting when you create your categories. Right? Let's go look at an event. So you can see here, the category on this event comes up as children, toddlers, and up, and that's a category that Tenafly has created themselves.
And also, as you can see there, we use the audience, which is the system-wide audiences. So that way that our events can still be found by searching if people limit by category when they search. Okay, so we can go to registration forms. You've probably all noticed that you can make your own registration forms. And because when you make your registration forms, everybody can see them, it's really important that when you make them, you use your library name first. So I would use Tenafly Children's, Tenafly Adult, whatever it would be. But you should use your own library name. That way they'll always appear in order on the big list that you'll see.
One thing I suggest when you're making your registration form is go through and look at other libraries and what they've already set up, just to get an idea of how the registration form works, maybe get some ideas on what types of questions you'd like to ask in your registration form, or some of the requirements that you will have for your patrons. So if we look here at the Tenafly Teens, you can go in and actually see another library's registration form and get an idea of what they offer. So on the left side, these are the requirements that you will have in your registration form. So we can have an email address, you can have it either disabled, enabled, or required, and phone numbers. You can also require that they supply a library barcode, and then you can add questions. So whatever you add on the left, once you click save, it will appear on the right side. So just know as you're doing this, if you don't click save, it will not appear on the right side. So all you have to do is go back and click save. If you decide that you really like somebody else's registration form, a really quick kind of shortcut is to go to that. When you decide to create a new form, instead of clicking create new form, you can copy an existing form. So find that form that you like, copy the existing form, find the one that you like, and then give it a new title, and then you can find that in the list and then modify it to suit your library.
Also, one of the things that the LibCal staff mentioned to us is to be careful how many questions you ask. Do whatever you need to do to fit your rules and regulations. However, if you make too many questions and it's kind of too onerous for people to sign up, they may not.
So we have a question from Hoboken Library, and they ask if they use a dark event color, can you have the type show in white? And right now we are not able to change the font color on that view. So I would stick to lighter colors so that the contrast is better on the calendar view. If that changes, we will definitely let you know.
All right, so we'll move on to the next thing. Now, if you have a series event, in other words, maybe you have yoga that meets once a week for 6 weeks, or every day for a week or something, you can set it up so that patron can register for the first event and it actually registers them for the entire series. And that's very simple to do. So let's again go to 10 of Flies. Thank you. Calendar. Oops, let's go back to calendars. So I'm just going to push it back here in case somebody sees this. So let's pretend I'm making an event in June. And I'm going to make it a series. So I'm just going to pick a random time just to show you how to do this. So I'm clicking on this event repeats. And I'm just going to say it repeats daily up until June. Oops. 28th. All right. I'm going to call it FFFFF. And I'm going to pick my library. Now, when I go down here for event registration, I'm going to click Registration is Required. And then down here, you can see, Series Link Registration, this one right here. And this allows them to sign up once for all the events. Now, there's one little weird thing about LibCal. If you forget to do this the first time and you create the event, and you say, oh no, I want to make series registration, when you go back to try to do that, it won't let you. You're better off to just start over and recreate the event. For some weird reason, if you don't do this the first time, when you go to modify it, you never get this option. Maybe they'll fix that. Who knows? All right. And you can also click here, enable registration until the last event in series. So if you have a yoga class and it's not a big deal if they miss the first one or second one and it's not full, you can allow people to continue to sign up until the very end, if that's what you want.
Keep in mind, anytime that you create registration or you require registration for an event, you are opening up online registration to your patrons. So I know there were some questions about whether or not you can use the back end of LibCal to keep track of your patrons' registrations without allowing them to register themselves. Right now, you can't do that with LibCal. They are working on that for us. So just know that right now, if you click this registration is required, you're opening it up to your patrons to register themselves online. If you want them to call to register or email or stop in, I would suggest putting that in your event description, and then don't click this registration is required box. So we have a question from Joseph in Livingston. It says, hi, Joseph. It's Joseph. He says, what is the difference between location field and Buckles library field. Those are basically two different ways that we can search or filter, especially when running reports. The best thing to do, one of them should be automatically filled in for you. And when you sign in, it will automatically fill that field for you. The other one you definitely want to choose. That way it's easier for filtering events later or for running reports. It really doesn't show up anywhere else except in the reporting side.
And also, don't forget to pick your location or room. And I have a question for you, Joseph. If we forgot to have a room or location and we want to add them, should we just email you? Because we can't add them. All right, so if you want to change your locations in your individual library, send an email to Joseph and he'll add them for you.
Gina asks, can you explain how enable multiple attendees within a single registration works? So basically, when you enable multiple attendees with a single registration, you are allowing one person to register multiple people. So if you have a mother that wants to register herself and 6 children, she can just enter her own information, including her email address, and then the contact for the event will go to that one person. But she will be able to register 7 people essentially for that event.
So you can see here, this is the event we just created. And, you know, it's not really filled in properly, but you can see you can add, I don't know, 4 people and begin registration. So this is what it would look like. So you see register plus 3 guests. And so, I mean, it's not a real email address, but you can see you can do it one time for that many people. Now, you might want to be careful in doing this. Like if you have an adult event and, you know, one adult wants to register 3 other adults, if you then have to go and cancel an event for some reason, the only person who will get the email is the person who registered. So, you know, it's good for family events, but you might not want to do that for adult events. Just take care.
Joseph, that's true. When you choose your widgets, when you start creating your widgets, you're going to want to make sure that you click anything that has to do with your library. That way your patrons will be able to filter the calendar when you create your widgets. Irene asks, if you're a branch, would you use the branch name for both library and location? If your library has been set up with a LibCal account for the individual branch, then you're going to want to choose anything that has to do with the branch. As far as I know, none of the libraries have a branch. Oh, there might be one library that is set up with a branch. Can't quite. It may have been Paramus? Maplewood. So, no. Yeah. Right. So, if you're from the branch location, when you're setting up your events, make sure that, first of all, you would be signed in under the branch account, and then you would choose anything to do with that branch, and they're all labeled the same way. Ah, yes, Maplewood. Thanks, Irene. So, Irene, when you log in under if you're part of the Maplewood branch, make sure you're logged in as the Maplewood branch, and then, yes, definitely choose the locations that have to do with that branch. If you need locations added for that branch, just let me know. You can either fill out a ticket or just email me at joseph@buckles.com, .org. You're welcome. So Emiliana asks, can you change the header on the calendar and maybe add your logo? Yes, you can, actually. So that was one of the things that we discussed maybe going over at the end of this webinar. At the end of the webinar, if you notice here on the Tenafly site, they have their own banner image here. and that includes their logo. And anytime that you click on one of their events, this event organizer box is specific to their library. It has their logo and it has all of their contact information. So yes, that is definitely possible. You can definitely do that. That is a little bit more complicated, and there is a doc that I created, a Google Doc that I created that I can share with you. So I'll find that and I will share it with you all. And I'll give you the link here. And it kind of walks you through how to do that. First thing you want to do is make sure that you set up the right size banner image. And that breaks it down for you in the Google Doc. And then you'll also want to create some kind of a logo that you can put into that event organizer box. So I will share that with you right now.
All right, so while Joseph is doing that, we just wanted to let you know also that you can set up to, if you're an event organizer in your library, you can set up to have an email sent to you when somebody registers for an event. So that's one way that you can keep track. And that's in the registration section when you do the setup. You'll see it's just there. It says BCC confirmation emails. Now, you can also, if you have to cancel an event that you have registration for, you can email all the registrants at one time using one email to cancel. I'll show you that in a minute. Oh, good. Okay. Let's see. Let me find one that we have registration for. So here's our, sorry. Coffee with the Craft. Okay, I'm going to manage event. And you can see here, this is where all the people who have registered, the list of them. So if I wanted to give them a phone call, I could, to confirm or whatnot. You can also easily print out a list, or you can export it to an Excel spreadsheet, which you can also put in Google Docs. So that makes it pretty easy. But all you have to do is go to email attendees, and you compose whatever your email is, and all your attendees will get it. They are sent as a blind carbon copy, so they won't see everybody who is registered, and they can't reply all to make some sort of comment. So that's a pretty nice way if there's a weather cancellation or something else.
If you are going to cancel your event, I do recommend that you first, before you cancel your event or you delete it, definitely email all of your attendees first. While we're on this view, I just want to point out a couple of things that are available to you in this view. And we got here, just to remind you how we got here, we started at the calendar and clicked Manage Event. So I just want to go back to that so you can see. So if I'm on this event, I'm on my calendar. If I click on this event, this window pops up, and this blue button here says Manage Event, and that gives you a bunch of different options up here. Here first is the registrations. I can add registrations to this. I can add people to this. I can look at my wait list. I can see who canceled. I can create an event button that I can simply put on social media, or I can put it on my website, and that'll bring people right to the event and allow them to register. And I can also go in and edit any of my patrons' registration information. And the day of, I can also confirm whether or not people attended the event. This is a great way to keep track of your attendance and basically see who really showed up after they registered.
Which also is a great thing. If you go over here to, we're going to go back to the calendar. If you go to Event Explorer, this is a great way that you can see all your events, who attended them, how many people came. And it's a great way to get your monthly statistics. So if we want to look at Tenaflies for, let's say, the month of February, you can see here in a nice list all of our events. It's a good way also to check to make sure you added everything to the calendar. If registration is required, from this list, you can see all the registrations for all the events that require them. So again, it's like, I like it because it's a one-page view of everything, so you get a good overview. But you can take this and export it, and it exports it as, it'll download it as a comma separated values file, which is just kind of like a spreadsheet. And then you could just immediately upload it right to Google Sheets or Excel. And then you have a nice spreadsheet. You can organize it any way you want. You can divide it by your event categories. So it's a nice thing. If you do it at the end of the month and you kept track of your registrations, that people who actually came, then you have your monthly totals right there. Okay, we already jumped over to that. And now a couple of people have questioned how to so if you're in the month view calendar, it's a little cumbersome because it's hard to move from, you can't just click an arrow to scroll through the dates. So what you have to do is go date, March. I think Tenafly is already chosen, yeah. And then search, and that gets you forward to March. So I believe that's something they're trying to work on to get a better scrolling system. But again, you just pick the month, search, and that will move you forward. You do have to click search. It doesn't automatically move.
We have a question from Ethan. He says, I had to cancel an event in January, and all those options were not available. So I had to delete the event and contact all 55 people via email or phone number. Why did this happen? I'm assuming that you're talking about the the manage event view. So when we first started using LibCal, all of the backend information was not available to us if we didn't have the event registration clicked or chosen. So it might be now that those options are coming up because they are fixing that for us. I would assume, I'm going to assume, Ethan, that you were not requiring registration, or perhaps you were. I would have to know more about the situation to give you a better answer.
And certainly if you accidentally deleted the event before you emailed, all your data would go away. And LibCal is trying to work on a cancellation option as opposed to just deleting. In the previous calendar, you could cancel and it would be X'd out on your calendar. So they're working on something like that for the future. And again, if you do not have registration, they don't have email, so there's no way you can cancel event and email in this way. That's one of the good reasons to have registration. So, if there's some sort of emergency, you can get in touch with these people very easily.
So, Ethan, I see that you did require the registration for the event. So, I think I would have to go in and look at your event to get a better understanding of that. If you, again, like Marcia said, if you had canceled the event first, or deleted the event, obviously that wouldn't be available. I would have to look into that further. So, if you want to contact me, we can get to the bottom of this together. Emiliana asks, can you have the calendar show one view like the list view for everyone? So right now, the calendar view is a system-wide option. So the system-wide option that was chosen is the calendar view rather than the list view or the card view. If you create a widget, you can choose your view for your calendar that's embedded onto your website. If you choose to link to your calendar from your website, all you have to do is go ahead and click the view that you like the best. So if we're on the public side, are we on your public? Yes, we are. And so Marsha's going to choose the list view. And then if you notice in the URL in the address bar up here, that little address is going to change as you change the view. So if we choose another one, you'll see it changes a bit. So what you want to do is first choose the view that you want and then copy that URL and then add that URL to your website.
And in fact, I believe it's under settings. Let me just get over there. The LibCal actually explains how to do that and gives you the URLs. I believe that's where it is. Let's see here. They have instructions on how to do that and to see which the different, all the different options. I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm sure it's right here. Well, I'm not going to spend time doing it now, but we'll let you know. It's either widgets or someplace in settings, but I will answer that question for you a little better. Are there any other questions that anybody has at this point in time?
So when you're going to add your calendar to your website, there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. One is just a simple link to your public view calendar, and that's basically what we just showed you. You can also create widgets, and that's the page that Marcia is currently on. You can see the different widgets that are possible. You can create a full calendar, a mini calendar. A mini calendar is kind of great because you can just add that to a page. So if you just want to show your children's events on that mini calendar on your children's page of your website, that's a great way to do it. And then they have a quick link to your events, to the event page on your LibCal calendar. So basically, you'll just fill out all this information, and once you choose your calendar, there's advanced options. So if we choose Tenafly, lots of different advanced options come up. So right now I'm on the full calendar, and there are default sizes for that. You can change this if you'd like, and here you can change the default view, and there's an advanced setting down here. The one thing to really note on this is limiting how many events show up per day. So I think 3 or 4 events on any given day is plenty to see, and then after that it'll appear with a little plus sign underneath it. It'll tell you how many more events are happening on that day. That way you don't crowd your calendar. Then you can change other things like the font color and the text color and when the day starts and ends. And then basically you come down here and you will copy this code and then embed that code onto your website wherever you want it to appear, and that calendar will appear there. So right over to the right, you'll see that there's a little preview of what that widget is going to look like, and the same thing will be true with the each one of these as you change it. It'll give you an idea of what it's going to look like. So this, I really like this little mini calendar. It gives you kind of basically what's happening here, and it's a quick look at what's happening. And then you can click on that, and it'll bring you right to the event page. So here you can see I was talking about filtering it by category or by audience. So here I can filter it by audience. So if I chose children, and I know that's an audience that I use in my calendar, then I will choose all this, and only my children's events will show up. Does anybody else have any questions? Anything that we've covered, or maybe something that you feel is missing? So we have a little time. If there aren't any questions right now, I would like to go over the embedding that banner image, and then also your event organizer box, because this is really helpful to have, and it is going to show up. The event organizer box will show up on every event that you have. So I just need to get, if you can follow the link that the last link that I sent you, that will bring you to the LibCal training Google Doc. I'm just going to bring that over so you can see it. So this is what the doc looks like. And the second section is called Customizing Your Profile for the Event Organizer box. And this is what we're going to look at right now. There's a little bit of code here that you're going to need to copy and then paste into your profile. So basically, I'm going to copy this information, and I will go over to my profile, which is in that top navigation bar, way over to the right. And right in here now, Marsha's already set it up for Tenafly, so I'll just walk you through it. But over here in this section, it's called Profile Text Area, there's the source button. You want to click that source button, and then you'll paste that code in here. And then you want to go in and just change the information so that it reflects your library. So you'll change the address to make sure that it reflects your address, the email address, and then any of your social media information. So if you have a Facebook page, make sure you replace the Facebook page with yours. That way it shows up correctly. I highlighted in the document all the different elements that need to be changed in order to reflect your library. Now, if you don't have a Facebook page and you don't have a Twitter account, you can just delete those. Make sure that you only delete the portion that has to do with that. So if I was to get rid of this, so they added an Instagram. If I wanted to get rid of that, I'm just going to get rid of Instagram. I don't want to delete the div tag or the paragraph tag. So when I click on that source, I'll go back, and this is the information that is left. So if we were to go and look at one of Tenafly's events, this is the event organizer box. This text information is what we just added. We haven't added this image yet. So I'll go back over to my profile, and I'm going to add an image to this. I'll click Launch Image Manager, and then I'm going to upload the image. Once you start uploading images, the best idea is to start creating folders and just right away start organizing all of your images. This is a great place to organize any images that you know you're going to reuse every time you make an event. So if you always do yoga with goats and you have a great image that you like to use with that, make sure that you store it here. That way you can always have it at your fingertips. So you'll upload the new image, find it on your computer, upload it, and then once it's here, you're going to click this little link icon, and it'll bring up this address bar. It's basically telling the system where to find the image. You'll copy that image, you'll copy that address. You can close this all out, and then you'll paste the address into this box here, and then click save. Then that image will appear here. For the most part, it's going to resize this image, but you want to stick to like a profile size. I find that a Facebook square profile image works really nicely. Does anybody have any questions about that? That one I'd say was pretty straightforward. Anything you want to add?
No.
Okay.
I just want to add, it might look scary because it's code, but it's all there. You're just changing the text. So you really don't have to, it's not coding. It's just changing text. Joseph did a good job explaining that.
Yeah, luckily you don't need to know coding from scratch. LibCal did a nice job of setting us up with all of that information. Hoboken Library asks, can we show a public calendar and have a separate in-house calendar? So, not quite understanding. I'm not sure I quite understand the question, but I have an idea. And I think Marsha's on the same page with me. We're thinking that what you mean is that you would have a public calendar, obviously, and then one that only shows for in-house, and the information doesn't necessarily go to the public side. So the one way that you could do that is to create drafts. So when you create your events, let's go back to calendars. So let's go look at an event here. So this is our in-house calendar, basically. This is what only anybody who's logged in can see. So if we wanted to create an event, and I'm going to go ahead, just like Marsha did. And actually, do you have that one still here? Great. So I'm going to modify this one. I'm going to go into this single event, and I'm going to click Modify. You can do it from scratch. I'm going to go right down to the bottom of this page, and instead of Publish, I'm going to choose Unpublished Draft. And then I'll submit and update that event. On this page, on the in-house calendar, it will show up with draft in front and then the event information. If we go to, let's just remember that's June 25th. If we go to the public calendar, and I choose June, and I go down to June 25th, you'll see it does not appear on the public side. So the best way to do it is basically create an event, but don't publish it. Just make it an unpublished draft. Ethan, you said you created an event organizer and it doesn't appear on each event. What did I do wrong? I'm sure you didn't do anything wrong. But I would, again, have to look at your account and see what happened. The first thing that comes to mind is maybe you didn't paste the code into the source side of things. Maybe you posted it in or pasted it into the directly into the text area. So that would be the first thing that I would check, because no matter what you do when you post something in here, it should show up in the event organizer box. The next thing I would think is maybe you didn't click save at the bottom. If you don't click save, it definitely does not save the information. I would definitely have to go in and look at your profile in order to do that with you. I would definitely recommend contacting me, Ethan, so we can go over a couple of these things together. Right, exactly. If for some reason you accidentally deleted part of the code, that will definitely kind of send it into a wonky place. That's a very technical term. Wonky, yes. We in the biz, that's what we call that. So Okay, yeah. So if you didn't paste it into the source, it may not appear correctly. I would definitely go back and double check that. And make sure you click save at the bottom. I know a couple of people are writing. I want to give you a chance to ask your questions. I would like to head over into the other section where we customize the library banner. So the first thing that you're going to need to do before you customize your banner image on the LibCal account, you will have to create a banner image, and there is a requirement that it needs to be 1200 pixels in width by 150 to 180 pixels in height. I find the 150 shows up really, really nicely. It doesn't overwhelm the calendar, and it just looks really nice. So make sure that's a high quality image when you start, and then just crop it down to that size. The information that Marcia gave you at the beginning of this session, the website, is called imageresizer.online. So imageresizer.online gives you it's just a really quick way to resize your image and prepare it for web. Okay, so Amy and Monica, you ask, when you are booking a room, is there a way to have your library's rooms float to the top so you can choose them easily instead of having to scroll through every library's rooms? You don't want to scroll through every single library's rooms. Um, yeah, exactly. Imagine if you were Wyckoff. So, so when you are creating an event, yes. So the quick answer is yes. So anytime you're creating an event, actually, let's just create an event. So you can see when you're creating an event on this location, it is autofill. So if you just start typing um, your library's name, and I believe you guys are Hawthorne. Were you not? Or where are you guys from? Hawthorne. So as you start typing it in, only Hawthorne will show up. So it definitely will save you a little bit of time. Does that answer your question? Excellent. You're very welcome. So in order to customize the banner image, we need to, again, copy a little code, and it's right here. And you'll copy this code, and then you'll go over to your calendar view and go up to settings. The first option under settings is calendar settings. You're going to choose that setting. And if we just open this up a little bit, this is where you'll paste it. And then you'll want to change 3 spots. One is the URL of your library's website, so just make sure that you change that to reflect your library. The second point is where the image is located. So we'll go back and change that in a minute. And then the last one is the alt text for your library. So basically the alt text is for visually impaired. So when there are screen readers, they'll read that image and they'll understand what that image is. So we paste that in there. We change that information. We can go back and change the source in a minute and we save it. Then I'm going to go back to my profile. Marcia, if you found a better way of doing this, let me know. So I go back. So,
Never to do it again.
so anytime you want to go to your image manager, the best way to do it is to go right to profile and then click on Launch Image Manager. You'll upload your banner image. You'll do the same thing we did before for the logo. And Marcia did a nice job of organizing things. And then we're going to click on the link, copy that address, close this out, and you can have 2 tabs open if you want. That way you don't have to go back and forth. I'll go to my settings, calendar settings. I saved this in here before. And now I'm going to go in, you'll see SRC, that means source, and that's basically where am I getting this image? And I'm going to paste that address right in between the quotes. And then I'll click save. And right away it'll refresh and you'll see your new banner image up there. Your image, where does your image need to reside? It can reside in the image manager, as I just showed you, or it could reside somewhere else. So if you want to store it somewhere else, you just need to know that URL so it can grab that for you. So if you already store your images on your website on your server, you can definitely use that URL and place it in there. The image manager is just a nice place to keep track of all of your LibCal images. Are there any other questions about creating events or managing events? Anything LibCal related? Once you start creating your events, it's quite easy. You'll find that it's really kind of quick and easy to create new events. If you one little quick tip, if you are going to create an event and you like the way you've already set up one, rather than creating it from scratch every single time, if you go to an event that you liked and you want to recreate pretty much all of the information or the basic setup for it, instead of creating from scratch, I'll click on the event and I'll go down to the bottom right hand corner. I'll take this drop down and I'll click copy event. So that just gets me started really quickly on that new event rather than starting from scratch. So once you copy the event, all the basic information is going to be copied and then you can alter it for that new event. So basically you want to maybe change the time and the date or just the date. If you don't change that, it will come up with a conflict for the room. So if I just click copy event, and I scroll down here to the room, it's going to tell me that there is one clash in this room. And of course there is, because this is trying to happen at the exact same time as my original event. So I would have to go in here and change this date. So if I just change it to the 8th, there may be a conflict because there's something happening on the 8th, maybe on the 3rd. And then I'm going to check availability. And it tells me that the room is still available, or the room is available. So I know that I can actually create this event. So that's just something, a kind of a quick way of creating events.
And I do want to mention one thing, that if you create a series of events, so for example, let's say you have a book club and you already know the books, but they meet at the same time, the same day every month. You can create a series of events and you put all the common information as you create the series. And then you can go to modify single event to add the book title for a specific day of that event. But once you do that, if you go back to modify all your events, the series, you will get rid of everything specific to one event. In other words, make all your series changes first, make sure it's exactly the way you want it, and then you can add items that are specific to one meeting of that series.
That's great advice. So basically you want to make sure that you do all of the general information before going in and being more specific for each event. That's great advice. It's definitely a time saver as well. Are there any other questions? Is there anything that, Marcia, is there anything that you would like to add or something that you found while doing LibCal?
I'm just going to say at first it was a little clunky because I was used to the old calendar. However, given the amount that we can make it specific to our website and whatnot, and it's very easy. Again, you don't have to really know how to do coding. I feel it's much improved over the old one. And so if you're struggling or anything, you can always send me an email at Tenafly. I'd be happy to answer questions. And I know Joseph is very good at that as well. But make sure you give it a try.
So Donna asks, how does the follow-up survey work? So right now, We don't have access to follow-up surveys for each individual library to create their own surveys. It is a system-wide option. So basically, I would have to create that survey for you. If you wanted to create a survey, I could add that survey into a system-wide database, and then you could choose that survey from the list. It could get kind of cumbersome as the time goes on if everybody wants to kind of create surveys that are specific to each event. If it's more of a general thing, I would definitely look into doing that, because if it's the same survey that you're going to send out with every follow-up, that is definitely something to look into. Basically just contact me and we can talk about how we can do that together. Amy and Monica, is there any progress on printing a daily agenda that includes internal notes for setup details? Not yet. So I definitely understand your concern with this, or your frustration with it. So one of the places that no, I want to go to Event Explorer. So would you mind running that report like you did before? So when you run this report, this is great. Like as Marsha was showing you before, it shows all of that information, but it does not show your internal notes. And I know that's really important to you, where you may use this to help your staff set up the rooms. So we are working with LibCal. They know that that's an option that we need to be added to this report. So once that is set, I will definitely send out an email and let you all know that that's an option that's now available to you. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten you. You're very welcome. Are there any other questions? Well, this has been really great. This is my first webinar at Buckles, and I hope you guys enjoyed your time here. I hope we answered all of your questions. I want to thank Marsha for coming by the Buckles office today and doing this with me.
Thank you, Joseph.
And thank you all for joining us. We are recording this, so it will be available under the webinars. Good luck with everything in LibCal. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm Joseph at buckles.org. And hopefully we'll have another one of these coming up soon or something.
Hopefully.
Cool. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.